Hey friends, life has a way of testing our hearts, doesn't it? Someone you once cherished deeply, the one who promised they'd stay, who made you believe in forever, walked out of your life. They left you standing in the wreckage, surrounded by pain, confusion, and the deafening silence of unanswered questions. You replay every moment, wondering if you missed the signs or if you could have done something differently. The nights are the hardest. Lying awake, staring at the ceiling, your mind becomes a battlefield of emotions. What went wrong? Was I not enough? These thoughts echo, slowly chipping away at your confidence, making you question your worth. But time, as relentless as it may feel, begins to soften the edges of your pain. Day by day, you rebuild yourself. You find strength in places you didn't know existed. You discover pieces of yourself that their departure tried to take away. You start healing, not because they apologized, not because they came back, but because you chose to. Then, just as your heart begins to mend, it happens. A message, a notification, one small loaded sentence. Hey, how are you? It's like a storm cloud rolling back into the sky, bringing with it a flood of emotions. Anger, sadness, confusion, maybe even hope. You stare at the screen, reading and rereading the words. Why now? Why after all this time? Here's the silent truth. Their return isn't about you suddenly becoming more valuable to them. It's about their own unresolved emotions. People often don't realize what they had until they lose it. While you've been healing, they've been grappling with the consequences of their choices. Perhaps they thought leaving would bring them happiness or clarity, but life has a way of teaching hard lessons. They might have realized that the connection they abandoned wasn't so easy to replace. Or maybe the loneliness they thought they'd escape followed them instead. But let's be clear about one thing. Their return isn't a validation of your worth. Your value was never determined by their presence or absence. You were always enough. As Maya Angelou wisely said, never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option. Their message might stir something in you, maybe a spark of hope, a desire to reconnect, or even a need for closure. But before you respond, take a moment to breathe. Ask yourself, what do I want from this? What does this mean for me? You've come so far. You've endured the pain of their absence, the nights of questioning yourself, and the struggle to rebuild your sense of self-worth. Their return isn't an invitation to undo all that growth. It's a test of your strength, your boundaries, and your ability to protect your peace. When they left, they made a choice. Now it's your turn to choose. Do you let them back into your life? Do you forgive but keep your distance? Or do you simply walk away, knowing that you deserve more than someone who only realizes your worth after they've hurt you? The answer isn't easy, but it's yours to make. Remember, the power lies with you now. You've done the hard work of healing, and you deserve to move forward in a way that honors your journey. As we dive deeper into the psychology behind their return, let's explore how Stoicism can guide your response and what this moment means for your personal growth. But before we move forward, ask yourself one simple question. Am I ready to choose myself? Number 1. They seek emotional refuge in familiarity. When someone who once left you suddenly returns, it's often less about your value to them and more about their search for comfort. Life can be unpredictable, and when they find themselves in a storm of emotions or difficulties, they naturally gravitate toward what feels familiar, you. But this longing isn't always fueled by love. Sometimes it's about seeking emotional refuge in the stability you provided. Think of it like this. Someone might have left to chase excitement or explore new possibilities, leaving behind the safe harbor you created. At first, they may feel exhilarated by their choices, but over time, reality catches up. Shallow connections, unfulfilled promises, or challenges begin to weigh on them. That's when they remember you, not just the person, but the support system you represented. Imagine a former partner who left, dismissing your efforts to nurture the relationship. Months later, they return, claiming they miss you. What they really miss might not be you as a person, but the sense of stability, care, and grounding you offered. It's less about love and more about their need for a secure emotional base. Psychologically, this behavior often stems from unresolved issues within themselves. When life feels uncertain, people tend to revert to what feels safe and familiar. Your kindness, patience, and emotional strength made you their safe space, and in moments of weakness, they reach for that comfort. But here's where you need to pause and reflect. Are they coming back because they truly value you? Or are they seeking refuge from their own struggles? This is a crucial distinction. If their return is more about escaping their own chaos than genuinely rebuilding the bond, you risk reopening old wounds for someone who may not have changed. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This applies beautifully here. You can't control their motives or their return, but you can control how you respond. Protect your peace by setting clear boundaries. You're not an emotional safety net to be used when it's convenient. You're a person of value, deserving of relationships built on mutual respect and genuine care. When someone returns, take the time to assess their intentions. Are they here to invest in you, or are they simply looking for shelter from their own emotional storm? Their return doesn't define your worth. It's a reflection of what they lack. Let it remind you of your strength and the love you consistently offered. But don't compromise your well-being to provide comfort for someone unwilling to do the same for you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am my own safe haven, to declare that your peace and emotional stability come first. Remember, you deserve relationships where your worth is celebrated, not just remembered when convenient. Number 2, they can't stand your growth without them. It's a truth few admit, but it's deeply rooted in human nature. Some people walk away from you believing you'll falter without them. They leave expecting you to crumble, imagining their absence will leave a void too large to fill. But when you prove them wrong, when you grow, thrive, and shine, it unsettles them. This isn't because they suddenly value you, it's because your strength challenges their assumptions about their importance in your life. Imagine someone who left your life under the impression that they were indispensable. They believed their presence was the foundation of your happiness. But then they hear about your achievements, witness your smile in a photo, or notice the spark in your eyes when you're enjoying life without them. It disrupts their narrative. They thought your world would stop spinning, but instead it's flourishing without them in it. For example, Sarah's partner left, claiming they were holding her back. For months, Sarah was devastated. But over time, she built herself up. She landed a promotion, reconnected with friends, and started pursuing hobbies that brought her joy. One day, her ex messaged her out of the blue, congratulating her on her success. But as their conversation continued, it became clear. Their return wasn't about celebrating Sarah's growth. It was about re-establishing their relevance in her life. The psychology behind this behavior is revealing. People who seek control or validation often struggle to see others thrive without their influence. Your growth reminds them of what they lost, but it also highlights what they lack. Their return isn't always about love or reconciliation. Sometimes it's about their discomfort with the idea of you finding joy, purpose, or love that doesn't include them. But this is where your power lies. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." Their feelings, their insecurities, their need for validation, these are outside events. They don't define you. What matters is how you've chosen to rise above, to grow, and to rebuild a life that reflects your true worth. When someone who left returns, pause before letting them back into your life. Ask yourself, are they here to truly support my growth, or are they trying to regain control? Your progress wasn't meant to be a stage for their insecurities. You've worked hard to heal and build a life that empowers you. Don't let their return overshadow that. Let their discomfort remind you of your resilience. Their unease with your growth isn't your problem. It's their lesson to learn. You are not responsible for their regrets, and your life isn't a canvas for their unresolved emotions. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I choose growth, to honor the strength it took to rise, the courage it takes to keep going, and the wisdom to protect your progress. Keep thriving. You've earned it. Number 3. Guilt drags them back. When someone causes you pain, the emotional scars aren't just yours to bear. Even the person who hurt you will eventually feel the weight of their actions. Guilt has a way of creeping into their consciousness, making them question their decisions. When the dust settles and the emotional heat cools, they may realize the hurt they caused, and that realization can pull them back into your life. But here's the thing, their return isn't always about making amends or seeking reconciliation. Sometimes it's driven by their own discomfort. They're not necessarily apologizing to heal you. They're trying to ease their own conscience. Guilt makes them feel like they need to make things right, not because they want to fix the relationship, but because they want to free themselves from the burden of remorse. Consider this. Someone who once walked away from you without a second thought suddenly reaches out with an apology. They say, "I've been thinking about what I did. I'm sorry for how I hurt you." It might sound genuine, and in some ways it could be. But here's the question. Does their apology indicate real change? Or is it simply an attempt to rid themselves of the uncomfortable feeling of guilt? It's important to recognize that while their apology might bring a sense of relief, it doesn't mean they've truly learned from their actions. Sometimes people apologize because they don't want to live with the consequences of hurting others. They might feel a sense of regret, but that doesn't always translate to meaningful change or accountability. Forgiveness is a personal journey, and it's okay to accept their apology if it brings you the closure you need. However, forgiveness doesn't mean you have to invite them back into your life or allow them to re-enter without understanding the deeper reasons for their behavior. You don't need to accommodate their guilt to find peace. What you truly deserve is respect, honesty, and genuine care, none of which can be found in a relationship where guilt is the driving force behind someone's actions. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My peace is priceless. To remind yourself that your peace of mind is worth more than their guilt. You've learned to heal, and now you deserve to protect the peace you fought so hard for. Number 4. They miss the comfort of your presence. The absence of someone who truly cared has a unique way of making its presence known. When you were in their life, they may not have fully appreciated the warmth, love, and support you provided. Perhaps they overlooked the way you listened with your heart, offered encouragement when they felt low, or created a space where they felt valued. But now, in the stillness left by your departure, those moments of kindness echo loudly in their mind. They miss the subtle ways you made life easier for them, the conversations where you genuinely paid attention, the times you stood by them without expecting anything in return, and the quiet reassurance that your presence brought. Suddenly, they realize the void you left, a space that no one else has been able to fill. Their return isn't necessarily about recognizing your worth, but rather about seeking the comfort they lost. Consider this: someone who once dismissed your thoughtful gestures and took your kindness for granted suddenly reappears. They might say things like, "I've been thinking about you," or "No one has ever cared for me the way you did." While it may seem flattering, ask yourself whether their return is about valuing you as a person or simply missing the convenience of your care. The truth is, your absence is a powerful statement. It forces people to confront what they've lost. But just because they feel regret doesn't mean they've changed. Sometimes they return because they miss the comfort you provided, not because they're ready to reciprocate the love and respect you deserve. Stoicism teaches us to protect our inner peace and not be swayed by others' emotions. As Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "If you are pained by any external thing, it is not this thing that disturbs you, but your own judgment about it." Understand that their regret belongs to them, not you. Your value was always there. They just failed to see it in time. Drop this affirmation in the comments, "My kindness is strength," to remind yourself that your ability to care deeply is a strength, not something to be taken for granted. You deserve someone who sees and cherishes that kindness, not only when it's gone, but every single day. Number 5. Unresolved emotions linger like shadows. Emotions can linger like shadows, following people long after a relationship ends. When someone walks away, they often leave behind a trail of unresolved feelings, both theirs and yours. These emotions don't simply fade, they fester in quiet moments of reflection. And sometimes, instead of addressing their confusion head-on, they choose the easier route, returning to you, hoping you can help them make sense of what they cannot. Imagine someone reappearing in your life with words like, "I don't know what I want, but I miss you." It's a statement loaded with indecision, pulling you back into a dynamic where you're left guessing their intentions. Their return might feel like a spark of hope, but it often comes with the weight of their emotional chaos. Their lingering feelings aren't necessarily about love or commitment. They're about their inability to move forward, leaving them grasping for what once felt safe. When they come back carrying unresolved emotions, they risk dragging you into a cycle of confusion. One day, they're apologetic and longing. The next, they're distant and unsure. This push and pull can drain your emotional energy, leaving you questioning yourself instead of recognizing the instability in their actions. Marcus Aurelius said, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This means that challenges, even in the form of someone else's uncertainty, can be the key to your personal growth. Their return might feel like an obstacle, but it's also an opportunity, a chance to establish stronger boundaries, protect your peace, and reaffirm your worth. Ask yourself, are you ready to let their unresolved emotions dictate your path? Or will you use this moment to grow, to embrace clarity, and to move forward without the weight of their indecision? Their confusion is theirs to solve. Your peace is yours to protect. Drop this affirmation in the comments, "My peace is non-negotiable," to declare that your emotional clarity and self-worth are priorities. You have the strength to let go of uncertainty and choose relationships that bring stability, not chaos. Number 6. They rewrite the narrative for themselves. When someone comes back into your life after causing pain, their intentions aren't always pure. At times, their return isn't about rekindling a connection or making amends. It's about reshaping the story they tell themselves. People dislike seeing themselves as the antagonist, and reappearing in your life offers them a chance to feel less like the villain and more like the person who tried. Picture this. Someone who left you without closure suddenly starts sending kind messages or subtly reconnecting, but their efforts feel shallow. They don't apologize for the hurt they caused or take steps toward meaningful change. Instead, they engage in surface-level gestures, like liking an old post or sending a casual "How have you been?" These actions are less about repairing your relationship and more about soothing their conscience. They want to rewrite the narrative in their mind. A version where they weren't so hurtful, where their departure wasn't so abrupt, and where they remain someone you think kindly of. This behavior can feel confusing because it masks itself as care. But when you look deeper, their return often lacks the accountability or vulnerability needed for true reconciliation. Their actions may bring temporary comfort, but they leave you wondering, do they really want to reconnect, or do they just want to feel better about themselves? Marcus Aurelius wisely wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This wisdom reminds us that true goodness comes from actions aligned with integrity, not gestures designed to create an illusion of it. When someone returns to ease their own guilt, they're focused on their emotional needs, not yours. Here's the truth. You don't have to let them rewrite the story. Your experiences, your pain, and your healing process are valid. They don't get to use your life as a canvas to paint over their mistakes. Hold firm to your boundaries. Protect the peace you've worked so hard to regain. If their return isn't accompanied by genuine accountability and effort, you have every right to close that chapter for good. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My healing is mine. To remind yourself that your story belongs to you. Your worth isn't determined by their guilt, and your growth doesn't need their validation. Keep moving forward with strength and clarity. Number 7. Fear of being replaced. When someone who left you sees that you're thriving without them, it can ignite a deep fear of being replaced. They might have believed you'd always be there, waiting for their return, but when your life starts to bloom in their absence, their insecurity takes center stage. This isn't about love or a sudden realization of your worth. It's about their own fear of losing a place in your life. Imagine this scenario. They catch wind of your joy, whether through a new relationship, career milestone, or just the peace radiating from your social media posts. Suddenly, they reappear, saying things like, "I've been thinking about us," or "I made a mistake." Their words might sound sincere, but the timing often tells a different story. Their return is less about rebuilding and more about preventing you from moving forward without them. Fear of being replaced is rooted in control and ego. When someone sees you finding happiness elsewhere, it challenges their perception of their importance in your life. This fear can drive them to reach out, not to rekindle genuine love, but to reclaim a sense of relevance. Marcus Aurelius said, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Their actions may seem caring on the surface, but if their motivation is to ease their insecurity rather than to contribute to your well-being, It's not the foundation of a healthy relationship. It's important to separate their intentions from your own journey. You've worked hard to rebuild yourself, to find joy and purpose after they left. Their fear of being replaced shouldn't be a reason for you to reopen old wounds. Instead, let their return be a moment of reflection. Am I letting them disrupt my peace for their own comfort? Your happiness doesn't need their validation. You've earned every bit of the progress you've made, and no one has the right to diminish that. Recognize their fear for what it is, an attempt to hold on to something they no longer have control over. Drop this affirmation in the comments: I choose my happiness. To remind yourself that your growth is yours to protect. You are not a placeholder in someone else's story. You are the author of your own life, and your happiness is your priority. Their return isn't about you. It's about them. But how you respond is entirely up to you. Are you going to reopen a chapter that brought you pain? Or will you choose a new path of strength and self-respect? Remember, your worth was never defined by their presence. You've grown, healed, and discovered your resilience. Let their return remind you of how far you've come, not how much you've lost. If this resonates with you, share your thoughts in the comments. Let's keep growing together.